Hello, hello, good evening. What's up, everybody? It is finally Friday. We made it. We made it. We made it. The week is over. Want to give a big ups to all of my subscribers. Hello, good evening. Sorry about that. I got like three different devices going on in here. But good evening. Want to thank all of my subscribers, new and old, who have been rocking out with me. Those are my day ones who've been rocking with me from day one. I see some of my regulars up in the building. Want to thank y'all for still supporting me and always supporting me. Big ups to all of the new um subscribers who just jumped on board, and for those who are just viewing in today for the very first time, I want to welcome you, the Mocha's Cafe de Paris Lounge. Hope everything is well. Hope everybody's good. Want to make sure you guys can copy me. Just give me a thumb up, or just let me know that you guys can hear me. I just want to make sure my sounds is good. Just let me know my sounds is okay, because sometimes from my end I can't tell if people can hear me or not. So let me know that you out there can copy me. Kind of tongue tied today. I believe my sounds is okay. Okay, thanks, Harvey. Appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Again, I want to thank all of y'all for who's been supporting me throughout this whole journey. Again, I want to thank in each and every one of you. I appreciate all of my subscribers. Thank you for your dedication, your time, your positive energy. I just have to, speak what's on my heart and let all of y'all know I love all y'all. But enough of the mushy stuff. I'm going to go right on into today's recipe. And if you can see, I got it shut on my screen. Just kind of finding out about this. I know it's old news, but it's not too old. It happened last year, in December. 2 young men in a hotel room with drugs. This is the pastor here, who passed last year of December. He is by the name of Reverend Derek Favors. I stumbled across a video about him, and he was found in a hotel room from an apparent overdose a year ago. He was 42 years of age, a father, and married to First Lady Favors. This incident occurred December 13th, 2017. Okay. Now, Zachary, because I'm going to have to share another, Zachary, probably spelling his name wrong. Coincidentally, this is not the first pastor um who went out like this. There was also another pastor by the name of Williams who also died from substance abuse. And coincidentally, he was also a mega church pastor. I don't think the first pastor, Reverend Favors or Derek Favors, I don't think his ministry was as big as his, but basically both of these pastors were pretty much well known and had a nice sized congregation. We have Zachary Timms here, who also he died 2013, also from cocaine and heroin overdose. He also passed. This happened in 2013, and the ironic part was, how about he died in December, just like this first reverend that I mentioned. Cross that out. First reverend that I mentioned, he also died in December. And how about the big coincidence is both of them was 42 years old. Um, Let me see, this is not a good one. It's not really showing me his picture. But both of these pastors was only 42 years old, and that's young. I'm gonna see if I can get a better picture of him. And that's young, and it's very sad, ladies and gentlemen, when I find out there's a pastor who fell short from grace. I think that that's really, you know shocking. That's really a eye opener to see that, two men that are supposedly supposed to be men of God, that are supposed to represent the men of God, and as men of God, unfortunately, they fell short to temptation. I can't get a picture of this guy for nothing. I'm gonna just go to images. Okay, here goes some pictures of him here. Um, when I stumbled across this video and I seen these, two pastors, who coincidentally, ironically, both of them deceased the same way and at the same age and within the same month. It was definitely heartbreaking for me to see, men that are supposed to be in ministry, men that are supposed to be leading us, people that are supposed to be utilizing the gift that God has given them, to basically uplift people, encourage people, and pretty much give people spiritual direction. And unfortunately, they were lost in the cause. They were supposed to be leading people to have direction, and they didn't really have that. They really didn't have direction for themselves. And it's very sad and unfortunate. It's very discouraging when you see people in ministry, these men and women of God who fall short from grace, in the public humiliation. And the point of the matter is the way that they leave here. They left here in such an embarrassing and humiliating manner, and they're not here to explain, to people. They're not here to, unfortunately, tell their side of the story and let everybody know, look, don't do what I did. I had issues that I was struggling with, but because of my pride, because of my title, because I had a certain position, unfortunately, I wasn't really, I had too much pride to tell anybody I was struggling, that I had some inner demons that I really couldn't conquer. I had a hard time getting through certain struggles. And that's the bad part, when you have struggles, when you have mishaps. Unfortunately, when you're in such a high position, it's really hard to let people know what you're going through, because you don't want to be judged, especially when it comes to ministry. You don't want to be judged for it, because let's face it, we're in a world where people are very judgmental. People are not going to cut you any slack. People are not going to give you a break. Okay, make sure I exit out. Yes, unfortunately, when people in ministry fall short from God, when people fall from grace, it gives people a very negative perspective when it comes to people who are leading ministry. Now, if it was a regular crackhead that was in the neighborhood that died, or somebody who didn't really have any type of significant position as far as a ministry, nobody would care less. But when you have these leaders, these bishops, these reverends, these pastors, these people that are called, that are supposed to be leading God's flock, and you see them fall short from grace through something as simple as drug overdose. It's too ironic that these are two different pastors, and both of them went out the same way. Both of them were found dead in a hotel room from an apparent drug overdose. I can go on and on. There are many men and women within the ministry, but unfortunately, I'm hearing more negative things about these men pastors, or these male bishops. I'm starting to notice the media is really exposing a lot of them for all of their struggles, all of their inner demons that they never really conquered. Every time you turn around, you look on the news, you're seeing some pastor getting exposed, somebody in ministry getting exposed. Pastor found dead in hotel room from a drug overdose. Pastor found uh stealing church funds from the ministry and using the funds inappropriately, or pastor was found cheating on his wife. Every time you turn around, we're constantly hearing about people in ministry that unfortunately are are getting exposed because they're living a different life outside the life they're presenting. And this is what people have to understand. Me personally, I have also been in ministry myself. For a lot of y'all who do not know, I was once upon a time assistant for a ministry, meaning that I was actually on a pulpit. I was teaching the word of God. I was actually doing ministry at some point in time. And I will let all of y'all know out there, when it comes to ministry, that is a very, very, very delicate and serious position to be in. It is nothing to play with. It is nothing you do for fun. You don't get into ministry for fun. Don't get into ministry for entertainment. Don't get into the ministry because you're trying to build an image for yourself, or you're trying to gain popularity. Those are the worst reasons to get in ministry, because I promise you, when you decide to align yourself with God and allow him to use you as a vessel to do his work, and if you go on the pulpit dirty, If you go into this congregation, if you speak in front of God's people and you're preaching the word and you're delivering the word, but you're living the total opposite from the word, I promise you it's going to come back to haunt you. You cannot get on these pulpits. You cannot get in these congregations. You can't get in these mega ministry and know you're living a totally different way from what you present yourself, because it's definitely going to come back to haunt. It's going to come back to haunt you. I've seen it happen too many times. It's people who get into ministry for all the wrong reasons. And if you get into ministry for money, or you get into ministry um basically for attention, whatever reasons, because let's face it, everybody does not um everybody is not in the ministry for the right reasons. Let's just put it that way. Ain't no need to sugarcoat it. Everybody at some point has been to a church in which they discovered that a certain pastor, a certain bishop was living outside of the will of God. And what happens is, when you have these people who come into this ministry and they're living the opposite of what they're preaching, what happens is it contaminates the church. It contaminates people that really want a genuine and earnest relationship with the Lord. Is when you have all of these people that are contaminating the ministry, that are defiling the church by doing all kind of corrupt things. You taking a tithe of money, and you buying cars and you buying homes, but your church don't even have good air conditioning in it. I mean, your church got seats so old that it's squeaking as soon as members are sitting down. I mean, come on, let me first start off by saying this. I don't want anybody to think that I'm attacking religion, or that I'm attacking any type of spiritual leader. That is not what I'm doing. I'm talking about these people who claim to be leading God's people and are living corrupt. That's basically what my message is pertaining to. I'm not calling out any particular pastor. I'm not trying to blast anybody, or I'm not trying to discourage anybody from being in ministry, because it's fake people everywhere. It's not just fake people in the church. Fake people are everywhere. You got fake people on your job, fake people in your neighborhood, hell, fake people in your family. So, again, I'm not doing this message or doing this topic because I'm trying to discourage people from seeking God. I'm trying to discourage people from going to church. My thing is, we have too many hypocrites that are in the ministry. We have too many hypocrites that are behind the pulpit. And unfortunately, a lot of people think they can hide behind titles. And the church, it's on our jobs, it's in our households, or everybody that is called to be a leader. A lot of people are not leading like they're designed to lead. And this is the reason why we have all the problems that we have, because people are not leading. People are not utilizing leadership abilities the correct way. And this is the reason why we have so many problems that we have. So again, I brought this up for the simple fact I ran across two videos of two different pastors, and like I said, both of these pastors was 42 years old. One pastor died in 2013, and the other pastor, he passed in 2017. Both of them died at the age of 42, and both of them died in December, and both of them died from a drug overdose. Okay, there are many stories of pastors falling from grace, whether they were caught using drugs, if they were caught committing adultery, using church funds inappropriately, having children outside the marriage, alcohol abuse. Let's face it, everybody don't live the way they present themselves. Anybody could call themselves a man of God or a woman of God on Sunday, but you're doing all kind of other stuff Monday through Saturday, and the only time you so righteous is on Sundays, or on Wednesday or Tuesday nights when you have Bible study. But the rest of the days of the week, you live in the total opposite of what you present yourself to be. So again, this message is about titles and positions don't exempt you from troubles. And the reason I state that is because a lot of people, men and women, black, white, young and old, Christian, Catholic, whatever your religion, whatever your sexual preference, the bottom line is people are hiding behind titles. They are hiding their personal troubles. They are hiding their personal inner demons behind titles and behind positions. And if you, and what a lot of people have to understand is if you are a man or woman and you have a certain title, especially if you're in a ministry, if you do not deal with your inner demons, you're going to get exposed. Because there's no way in the world God is going to allow you to direct his people and lead his people and you live in another way behind closed doors. He's not going to allow it. He's going to expose you because the last thing God wants is for anybody to contaminate the ministry. Because when you let one thing go and you let one thing slide, it spreads like cancer. It's a lot of y'all in this chat room now who probably been to a church or still attending a church where you know it's a lot of ungodly things that are occurring within the church, and you know your pastor is corrupt, you know that ministry you are fellowshipping is corrupt, but yet you will go and you will continue to support these people. You will continue to tithe in these churches. You will continue to sing in these church choirs. You will continue to keep supporting some of these churches, knowing that these people who claim to have a connection with God or claim to be trying to lead everybody to God, you know they're living outside of what they're teaching that Bible. You know your pastor, been messing with some of the members in the church. Okay, you know your first lady, you know what I mean, is taking the church funds and doing all kind of stuff with it other than putting it in the church. A lot of y'all know this and y'all will overlook it. And you wonder why so many people do not take ministry seriously. A lot of people do not take church seriously for the simple fact that there are so many people within these congregations, within these churches that are living outside of what they preach. And it's not just the pastors that I want to blast. It's also some of these members. A lot of these pastors know there are certain members in a church that are living a certain lifestyle that they should not be living if they're trying to teach them how to follow Christ. But because this member pays big money, pays big tithes, or this member is a part of everything within the ministry, this is the member that you could depend on to lead the choir. This is the member that's dedicated to the board. This is a member that's dedicated to whatever needs that your church needs fulfilled. You will let that member continue to be a part of your ministry, knowing they are not living holy, knowing they're not really within the spiritual realm where they need to be. But not not so much just religion. That's just one aspect. How about these jobs? These big time corporations. I know everybody has been in a place of business, has worked for a job where someone on that job, whether if it was a manager, a supervisor, an executive director, or an executive administrator, a CEO, everybody knows that one person on their job that's constantly abusing their authority. Every job has that certain individuals, specific individuals, who figure because they have a title or they have a position that they can treat everyone else underneath them like they're irrelevant. It is a lot of jobs that are like that. It's a lot of jobs that cannot keep good employees, cannot keep good workers, because it's always one or two with a title. Because they have a title behind their name, they feel like they can disrespect and mistreat anybody underneath them. And when you have these people with titles that have these kind of attitudes, they lose good employees. They have constant turnovers, when it comes to these jobs, when it comes to these companies, because it's people who have titles who feel like they can abuse their authority, who feel like they can treat people all type of way, who feel like they don't have to respect people. You feel like because you're a manager, you're a supervisor, you're a CEO, or you an executive, you automatically feel entitled to mistreating people underneath you. And that is far from the truth. Even if you have a title or you have a certain position, you still got to be very careful how you treat people underneath you, because you have to deal with what's called karma. And if you are out here mistreating people, mistreating your employees, sooner or later it's going to affect the whole foundation, the whole empire. Okay, so As I stated before, the reason I'm doing this message is not to pick on pastors or any other individuals that are supposed to represent the body of Christ, but to contribute spiritual awareness. How can we grow without knowledge that we don't know? Okay. The point is, regardless of what title, position, or significance you have when it comes to a certain platform, it doesn't mean you're exempt from troubles. That platform can be your job, your ministry, or even your household. There are many ways to have leadership. Whether you are a man or woman of the house, pastor of a small or mega ministry, you're an executive director, executive administrator of a company, titles don't protect you from troubles. I basically say all that to say this. You have whenever it comes to leader, first of all, let's start off with what is leadership. When it comes to having leadership abilities, everyone has been a leader in something at some point in time. We all have led something. Believe it or not, you are a leader right now. Even and I don't mean just leading as far as in a job position. If you are a man and you have a family, guess what? You are the leader of that household. If you live with your children and you live with the woman of your children, or you have a family, you are the leader of that family. Okay. As a woman, if you are a single mother and there's no man in that household, it's just you and your kids, guess what? You are the leader of that household. All right. Same thing with these ministries, as I stated before. If you're a pastor, you're a bishop, you're a reverend, that means you are a leader. Okay. So basically, all of us have at one point in time we have led, or either we are leading. But the problem is, in order to be a good leader, you would have once had to be a good follower. And the problem is, when people begin to lead, they forget at one point in time that they were followers. That's the problem. Certain people, when they get pushed up and get a certain position, they forget that they had to start from the bottom. Okay, you have to remember, even if you are, even if you have franchising the McDonald's, at one point in time, you was probably flipping burgers. At one point in time, you was probably working behind the cash register. But so quickly, we forget where the heck we come from. Soon as we get a certain position, as soon as we climb the ladder, we start smelling ourselves. We get the big head, and we now feel like we are above the law. We feel like we can treat anybody underneath us any type of way. And you have to realize that regardless of what title position you have and whatever certain platform you're on, you are not exempt from troubles. You are not exempt from problems. Just because you have a title or you have a position, that don't mean things can't go wrong for you. So you still have to be careful with how you treat people underneath you. Okay. So basically, because I'm got my little notes here. The point is, regardless of your title, you still have to be careful with how you treat people. I'm starting to notice that many of us that are in leadership create our own troubles for two reasons. Anytime you have a position within being a leader, as I stated before, there are more ways to be a leader. There are several ways to be a leader. You can be a leader just by being the head of your house as a man, or the head of your house as a woman. You can be a leader by being a manager or a supervisor or director on your job. You can be a leader as far as a ministry, as a pastor or bishop. All of those are leadership positions. Okay. So basically, there are two there anytime you're in leadership, you can bring trouble to yourself. You can bring trouble to your leadership for two reasons. Either you can bring trouble to your leadership by abusing authority, or not having your authority in order. Those are two reasons a lot of people have stumbled from being a good leader, because they either abused their authority or they didn't have any order within their authority. And I've seen it so many times. And if you're somebody in a position where you are a leader and you're leading an organization, or you're leading a household, whatever it is that you're leading, or you're just leading your house, whatever you're leading, if you have to keep in mind, if you are abusing your authority, you're going to bring trouble to yourself. You have to be careful how you use your authority. Okay. How often do those that are in leadership have abused and misused their authority? The dangerous part about authority is that it comes with power. And the thing about it is, when we have authority, Authority, power comes with authority. And if you lack common sense, or if you allow your ego to get in the way of you being an effective leader, you can contaminate you can contaminate the platform that you are building. By example, if you're supposed to be the man of the house and you're abusing your leadership as the man by beating up on a woman or beating up on your kids or molesting your kids or hurting your kids, the platform is your home. If you are abusing your leadership in that manner, you're going to contaminate everybody who is underneath your leadership. What's up, Samuel? Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me. I see here one thing about it is that these pastors I'm I apologize, I'm tongue tied. Man, one thing about these pastors that doing that will pay the price at the end. Even with these high people with jobs, you can expose you can abuse your authority, like you said, you big son. Absolutely, that's what this message is about, Samuel. That's why I'm doing this, for the simple fact that I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen people who constantly abuse their authority. And not only they abuse it, they misuse it. Okay, I've seen pastors, people who's supposed to be over ministries who have done it, people who got these high titles with these high paying companies and corporations, and they're not understanding that whenever you abuse your authority, you're bringing reproach. You're going to contaminate the platform that you are in leadership over. And just an example, as I stated, if you are supposed to be the man of the house, being a leader does not mean beating the piss out your wife or beating the piss out your kids. That's not being a leader. No, you're being an abuser. That's what you're being. You're not a leader. You're a tyrant. If you own a company or if you work for a company, you're the director of that company, you're the manager of that company, and you're around here, you're bending the rules for certain employees, and the employees who you really like or the employees that you favor, you don't penalize them the same way you penalize the employees who you do like. Or you may be in a position as a director or manager where you have personal prejudices. You don't like white people, or you don't like black people, or you don't like women, or you don't like men. Let's say you're a woman and you can't stand men. And because you are a director of that company, you intentionally like to give the male employees there a hard time because you're bitter and you're taking all your anger out on every male employee that absolutely has nothing to do with the reason you're angry. You have a lot of people who are in positions and they are abusing the positions. They're abusing their leadership abilities because of other things that got nothing to even do with the platform they're attacking. And that's why I'm doing this message, because it's time for them to be exposed. What's up, Hershey kids? How you doing? Oh, oh, nobody's in trouble today that I know of. What I'm doing for everybody who's coming in, and just trying to figure out what's today's topic. I'm talking about people in leadership who are abusing and misusing their authority. We have a lot of people in leadership, and what's starting to happen is people who are not representing themselves as leaders, or who present themselves as one thing and then doing something else. What's starting to happen is a lot of these leaders are getting exposed. As I stated before, for anybody who's just coming in, I just talked about these two pastors. Okay. There was a pastor, I didn't know this, but there was a pastor who died last year by the name of Derek Favors of Oak Cliff Church. He was 42 years old and he was found dead in his hotel room from a drug overdose. Okay. There was another pastor in 2013 named Zachary Timms. He died the same way. And I just found it ironic that these two pastors, you know, both of them died the same way. Both of them got caught dead got caught dead in their hotel room from a drug overdose. How about both of them died at the same age? Both of them was 42 years old. These were young men of God who still had a lot of teaching left in them to do, that still had a gift left to do. But the problem is, when you are in leadership, and you're not dealing with the inner demons, what's going to happen is your demons are going to expose you. And that's what we're talking about. It's a lot of people who are in leadership and they're getting exposed for all of their inner demons that they never dealt with. That is what's happening. Yeah, you remember that Hershey Kiss? Yeah, yeah. I know it's old news, but to me it still is a significant thing to address, because a lot of these pastors, and I'm not just talking pastors, anybody who's in leadership, whether if they own a company, or they lead in the household, or they lead in the ministry, anytime you have a high position, you are a leader of something, you have to keep yourself in check. You have to you have to make sure you have your business in check, because if you are living foul or you are doing other things behind closed doors, it is going to come to the surface, and you're going to embarrass whatever platform that you're supposed to be representing as a leader. That's exactly what's going to happen. Samuel says he recently left a job like that. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people. Hershey Kiss, prime example, prime example, prime example. And and I know some people may get in their feelings about it, but God bless his heart. I hope Bishop Eddie Long made peace, with hopefully he made peace before he left here. Um, just to kind of speak on him just a little bit. Let me see if I could pull up his picture. Well, I'll probably do that in a little while. But anyway, yeah, he's an example. I remember, when those young men started coming forward, and pretty much exposing him, and telling everybody, they pretty much exposed, you know Eddie Long, and all of these, young men came out stating, how he was affiliating with them, he was dealing with them sexually inappropriately. It really tore him down, when all of these young men started coming forward, and everybody, started it started circulating all over the media, and it just really, I can just tell, once he got exposed, his health and everything started deteriorating. He deteriorated, and basically, it is sad, but this is what happens when you get a certain position. The higher you are, the harder you're going to fall. That's why when you get a certain position, you're in a certain position, whether if it's a ministry, especially ministry, you really, really have to be careful, because the bad part about it is, as it states in the Bible, too much is given, too much is required. And it really is. You can't get up there, and you're supposed to be leading the congregation. You're supposed to be leading people of God, but you're doing things outside of the word, and you're doing things the opposite of what you're presenting. It's going to come to the surface, and that's what happened. And I guarantee you, I'm sure, because this is usually what happens, ladies and gentlemen. God will give you time. He don't expose you right away. He gives you a lot of time to come clean. I can rest assured, I'm sure he had plenty of chances to come clean. But what happens is, a lot of us, we like to deal with our demons. We don't deal with our demons. We hide our demons behind closed doors. Because what happens is, our image becomes more important than our well-being. If you get to a point in life, and you're struggling with something, you have an issue with something, it comes a point when you should be more concerned about getting better versus than protecting your image. Because if you're more concerned with protecting your image than getting better, then eventually what's going to happen is your demons is going to get the best of you. You know why? Because you're not dealing with them. God cannot heal what you don't reveal. He can't heal you. He cannot deliver you from certain things if you're up here acting like you don't have a problem. How can how can we expect God to deliver us, or give us redemption from certain situations if we're not willing to come clean to him. And it's bad enough. It's one thing if you don't want to come clean to your ministry, but it's bad enough you won't even come clean to God. You won't even come clean to yourself. And the bad part is when we don't come clean and God has given you an ample amount of time and you still want to sit there and act like you don't have issues. You still want to sit there and act like you this big time pastor, you're this big time first lady, knowing you live in foul behind closed doors, knowing you do things that are totally ungodly. Then what will happen is God will put it on stage for everybody to see. That's what's going to happen. If you don't deal with your demons, if you don't deal with your issues, God is just going to put it on stage. Well, really, the enemy is going to put it on stage. He's going to shame you because that's how the enemy works. So you have to be very careful with not dealing with your demons because you will get exposed. And the worst thing is when the world is exposed to your weaknesses because people are going to use it against you and they will never let you live it down. You could turn your life over, become this renewed man, this renewed woman. You dealing with a world full of unforgiving people. Soon as you make one mistake, people will hold it against you for the rest of your life. You will always be known as that crackhead or as that adulterer or whatever caused you to be exposed. People are going to always remember you for that. All of your good works, all of your good efforts, it don't mean nothing after you done been exposed. It don't mean anything. I would have rather he would have just came forward on his own and said, you know what, I have to, be real, and I've been praying about this. I've been struggling with this, and I think it's only fair that I share with all of you as your pastor that I'm struggling in this area. I need help in this area. I'm going to step down and let the Lord deal with me until I correct where I'm going in error. Don't you know people probably would have respected Bishop Eddie Long 20 times more had he came clean versus getting exposed. Then you want to explain, and even to this day, he still didn't explain. But one thing we do know is all of those young men got paid off. We do know that. Now that we know. And he was interviewed several times, and he would never admit to anything. One thing about the truth, ladies and gentlemen, once you tell the truth, there's nothing that can be added, there's nothing that can be subtracted. Nothing. Once you don't put the truth out there, no matter how bad it is, guess what? Nobody can't twist it. Nobody can't do nothing with it. But when you put a lie out there, a lie is going to constantly keep over changing. One thing about the truth gonna stick. I don't care how hard it hurt. I don't care how harsh it is. But once the truth is out there, nobody can't twist the truth. Samuel says, I don't care if I pastor God. You can't have a double life. No, you definitely can't. He won't wear at the church and live in a double life. I mean, he was on drugs and he tried that. Yeah, exactly. You know what, Samuel? Because the problem is with leadership, image becomes more important than representing what you're supposed to stand for. That's what happens. Because if you are truly sincerely trying to lead, you're going to make sure you are healthy and where you need to be. You're not going to bring your filthy ways, your inner demons. You're not going to let that travel with you elsewhere, knowing it can spread like cancer. Yeah, I'm telling you, Samuel. I'm telling you, and it's so many ministry, but like I tell people, it's a difference between a pastor and just a man who's leading the church. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing to me. Once you've been exposed for living outside the will of God's purpose, you are no longer a pastor. You are no longer a bishop. You're none of that. You're just a man who is over the church. To me, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve them titles. It's as simple as that. Now, what people have to realize, this is what I was telling someone when the whole Bishop Eddie Long situation came out, and he killed her for money. Wow. I mean, this is sad. Like with the Bishop Eddie Long, if he would have just confessed what his issue was and what his struggles were, because a lot of people was up there saying, well, it wasn't nobody's business for him to be sharing what he was going through. Nobody didn't need to know that. I'm gonna tell you why it was everybody's business. Because for one, he was leading a whole congregation. Once you lead a congregation, there's no such thing as you supposed to have secrets. You supposed to keep certain things personal. No, not when you are supposed to be guiding and teaching the word. You don't get to decide what's private and what you don't want nobody to know. It don't go that way. Now, understand, as a human being, like if you and your wife having problems, something like that, you keep private. But if you out here openly doing ungodly things openly, like messing with other messing with kids and messing with other men, messing with other women, you are no longer private. Once you step outside your ministry and you do things ungodly, there's no more privacy. How you turn around and you do all type of ungodly things, and then as soon as somebody questions you about your second life, you want to be private? Oh, I don't want to discuss that. I don't think that's nobody's business. It is everybody's business. Once you step outside of the spiritual realm, once you step outside the grace of God and you do ungodly things, it's everybody's business. From then, all bets are off. There's no such thing as you're supposed to have privacy. It doesn't go that way. Yeah. And and a lot of it, Hershey and Samuel, a lot of it comes from living a double life. Well, a lot of it is a lot of these people are trying to people within this position. What's up, Sadiah? Thank you for coming on in. Appreciate you for stopping by. Yeah, because what happens is a lot of these leaders, they want to have their cake and eat it too. The reason why they don't want to, the reason why they live that lie is because they like the lifestyle, they like the benefits of being in leadership. You in leadership, they get used to the lifestyle, they get used to the cars, they get used to the houses, they get used to basically, the benefits of being in ministry. That's basically what it is. That's why a lot of them they will sit up there and live that lie. You got some of these bishops, pastors, and it ain't just some of them, it's these first ladies too. Some of these first ladies be living foul, and a lot of it comes from the fact that they do not want to give up the lifestyle. And if you're in ministry for the lifestyle, you definitely going to get exposed. If you're just in the ministry because you want to be popular, you want recognition. Anytime you go into anything with an agenda and you don't go into certain things with real intentions or true intentions, eventually you're going to get exposed. You're going to get called out for it. Just 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna pour me a glass of water here. Okay, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, what happens is when you go into these ministry, when you go anything you go into with an agenda, it don't necessarily have to be church. Anytime you go into any type of platform, whether if it's a job, whether if it's ministry, if you don't go into certain things with good intentions, eventually it's going to reflect, it's going to show. If you go into a marriage with the wrong agenda, or you got selfish motives, you got motives for going into a marriage, it's going to hit the surface. Anytime you go into anything, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a job. I don't care if it's a marriage. I don't care if it's a ministry. Anytime you go into anything with an agenda or with a motive and your intentions are not genuine, it is going to hit the surface. It's going to come out. This pastor that y'all mentioned, who killed his wife because he was gay and all of that, he got exposed because he was not with her for the right reasons anyway. And whenever you go into anything with an agenda, it's going to hit the surface. I don't care how hard you try to play it off. sooner or later, it is all the grits are going to hit the fan. And you're right, Samuel. He definitely brought reproach on the church and God. And my thing is with Bishop Eddie Long, because of course, all his church members, because you got some ride or die church members now. They're gonna stand up for their pastor no matter how Eddie wrong was long. I'm sorry. I mean, you had a lot of members who tried to, basically co-sign on the bull, and basically say, whatever issues he had, that was between him and the Lord. That wasn't for him to discuss with anyone. First of all, like I said, you cannot get in a position and leads God's people, and you want to hold back secrets or hold back living a double life. You can't do that. Not only this was my other issue. Don't he realize the same demon he was wrestling with? It was probably other members in his church who was going through the same thing. First of all, he was in Atlanta. So ain't no telling how many of the men in his ministry was probably struggling with the same issue as him. Do he realize how he came forward and confessed that, yes, I have an issue with my sexuality or whatever the case is? Don't he realize if he would have confessed, how many other members within that church probably need to be delivered from that same thing? He could have delivered other young men or other men who probably sitting right there in his church at the same struggle, but they was too, it's people sitting in the ministry that's too embarrassed to go to their pastor or to go to their leader and say, I have a problem with my sexuality. I have a problem with drugs. I have a problem with alcohol. But because you want to sit up there and hide all your problems, it makes everybody within your ministry hide theirs. I thought the church was a place where people are supposed to be delivered, where people should be able to come clean and release their sins. How you going to go somewhere and look for your pastor to deliver you when he's not even delivered? When he won't even say, guess what? I'm human like you. I'm a pastor, but guess what? I'm struggling in this area. He would have been better off going on that pulpit saying, you know what? As your pastor, I'm letting y'all know I fell short from grace. I'm struggling in this area, and I'm gonna, have to step down for a while until God delivers me from this. If there's anybody else in this church who is also struggling with this issue, you are welcome to join me so we all can be delivered and healed from this problem. Don't he realize how many people he could have saved that day just by opening up and being clean? But no, because we're in ministry, we want to basically, one moment, y'all. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, my husband, he's traveling, he's going out of town. So he was just calling me and let me know what was good. But anyhow, back to as I was stating before, we have to be very careful with how we abuse authority and how we abuse our leadership. If you know you are in a high position, that people will respect you more in the long run if you just admit to the fact that, you know what, I'm struggling in this area. I need help in this area. Not just as a pastor, even if you are a manager or an executive director over a company. You know, as I stated before, it's not just ministry where people are abusing their leadership. A lot of these jobs have the same problem. They're abusing their leadership because a lot of them, they're under stress, they're under pressure. All of these managers, these supervisors who come on these jobs and throwing their weight around, figure they could talk to people all kind of way, figure they can disrespect, employees, figure they could talk to you like you're a child, figure that your feelings are irrelevant. People who do things like this, what they do is they bring trouble to themselves because you start creating enemies. And the thing about being a leader, the thing is, you don't want it to where you want to make everybody like you, because of course being in leadership means you're going to have some enemies, means you're going to piss some people off, because you're not going to always do what people want you to do, and that's to be expected. And as a leader, you should not always do what it takes to please people, but you make decisions that pleases the company or pleases the overall concept. You don't make decisions that's only going to make certain people happy. You have to make, as a leader, you have to make a decision that's going to benefit the whole platform. But the problem is in leadership, a lot of people make decisions that only benefit them or only benefit certain individuals. My last job was like that. And that's the one thing I hated. They always made decisions that would benefit certain individuals. They never made decisions that was going to benefit the whole department as a whole. There was only, anytime decisions were made, it was only to accommodate certain people. It was only to make certain people happy. And that was a part that I hated. And the thing about it is, the more, if you are, as a leader, if you are at least willing to hear where everybody is coming from, even if you have a title, even if you have a position, even if you feel like you know more than everybody that's under you, they may can give you a better way or a better way of looking at things. But if you got this dogmatic, you got this tyrant attitude that I'm the boss, what I say goes, is going to go. I don't care who like it or don't like it. I don't care if y'all been wearing red shirts for 20 years. Starting today, y'all gonna wear blue shirts. You just out the blue, you like to dictate people. You like to ride people coattail. You lashing out on people, you talking to people all kind of way. That is not called being a good leader. You're not a leader, you're a tyrant. That's what you are. Until HR started getting too many complaints. Yeah, and that's the part that I want to address, Hershey. This is what a lot of people in leadership do not understand. Guess what? Leaders can be broken down. Make no mistake about it. Do not never get too comfortable. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you've been with the company for 30, 40 years. You piss the wrong person off, or if you start pissing too many people off and your name starts spreading all over the company, sooner or later, you're going to get cut. They're going to get rid of you. All it takes, and the problem is, the reason why it takes so long, because a lot of these companies, they're playing it smart. A lot of these companies, what a lot of these leaders don't understand is, you have some people, you have some of these supervisors, you have some of these managers. They know they have a lot of complaints on them. They know they have a file cabinet full of complaints, specifically about them. And they think just because nobody came at them right then and at that moment that they're good. But what they're not understanding is these companies, they're following the protocol. They're giving you enough rope to hang yourself. Be careful if you are in a company and you is a bunch of things being written about you and no one has came to you, because they're going to hang you. They're giving you rope to hang yourself. That's the thing about it. That's the thing. What's up, Trinity? Thank you. Um, it's just crazy. Thank you for stopping on in, Trinity. So I found out when I left my old job, pretty much was the other employees. Yeah, that's what happens, Samuel. It becomes a domino effect because what happens is when one employee leaves, and it's usually the good employees that leave. It's never the mean and nasty ones that never leave. It's always the good employees that are good workers who are the most dedicated. Those are the ones that usually end up leaving. That's usually how it happens. Um, when too many good employees start leaving, it starts to discourage all the other good employees that are there. That's what tends to happen. Because once one employee leaves, it doesn't the manager, it don't make them any better. It doesn't give them an epiphany. It doesn't make them say, well, you know what? I lost one good employee. Maybe I need to change my attitude. Maybe I need to better myself so I don't lose any more employees. If anything, it becomes a domino effect. They keep losing more employees because of their attitudes, because you have a lot of them. They have built these egos where they feel like I'm an executive, I'm a manager, nobody's not going to get rid of me. And a lot of them have this attitude until something happens where somebody has to get rid of them. And it's like a ball rolling down the hill. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, as I stated before, I can't begin to tell you that I've heard so many people complain about individuals on their jobs that abuse their authority. My supervisor is nasty, or my manager doesn't treat me with respect. I noticed that individuals that abuse their authority usually do so because there are other areas in their lives in which they have absolutely no control over. So it makes them throw their weight around in areas in which they can't control. A lot of these managers and supervisors that are very nasty and dictating on these jobs, if you knew their personal life, it will give you a real indication as to why they are the way that they are. A lot of them are nasty because there's other personal stuff that is going on in their life, and because they have no control over it, what they do is they come to these jobs and they try to control everything else. That's their way of dealing with explained anger. They have a lot of turnovers. Yeah, and that's another thing for anybody that's looking for a job or seeking a job or anything. If you know that job has a lot of turnovers, do not work there. Do not work somewhere where there's a lot of turnovers. That's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. If you go to a job, employees keep quitting. Employees are leaving. Don't. And anytime you see you working for a company, you constantly seeing employees being fired, employees are being terminated over stupid stuff. You better start looking for something else. And then sometimes too, especially when it comes to new management, they do that because that's their way of trying to clean house. A lot of them will purposely come on these jobs being tyrants because they want to clean house. They basically want to get some open positions so they can hire their family, hire their friends. Some of them will intentionally do that because that's their way of cleaning house. Yeah, a lot of them, especially these female bosses. The female bosses, especially, because women, as I stated, women already have a lot of displaced anger. A lot of these women will come to these jobs, these directors, these supervisors with bad attitudes, mean and nasty, because a lot of them ain't getting no pipe at home. A lot of them got issues in a household. A lot of them got children that are out of control. You'd be surprised with how many of these bosses and supervisors come to the job, bossing everybody around, mean, nasty, just being hellish, and can't even do nothing with their own kids, can't even do nothing with their own wife, can't even do nothing with their own husband, but will come to these jobs and throw all their weight around. Um, yeah, they get on their high horse, and that's true. Sammy, they get on their high horse and they love the money, but the bad part is what they're not understanding is they're disposable too. They can easily be disposed. I've known plenty of jobs with somebody, but I know what there was one manager, she was so mean and nasty. I mean, she just was typical, typical black beast. nasty attitude, just difficult to deal with. And what ended up happening was, the HR started receiving far too many complaints. So what they ended up doing was they ended up demoting her. She was actually a housekeeper supervisor. She was a supervisor housekeeper. Her and her friend, both of them had supervisors positions. What was started happening was they had the positions for so long they thought they was invincible. They got away with, treating all the new girls bad and just getting away with all kind of stuff. And then one day it just all caught up with them where they got one too many complaints. And what ended up happening was they threw this nice big old gathering. They set up the stage real nice. They had I guess they had McDonald's sponsored the event, all the McDonald's sausage biscuits and frappuccinos, everything. They had a big old thing where McDonald's brought in a bunch of food. Then they put this big old presentation together just to let them know that they was gonna have to demote them, that they was gonna have to be regular housekeepers, just like the housekeepers they dogged out. And they ended up hiring a Caucasian woman who's still a director there to this day. See, God don't like ugly. You have to be careful with how you do things, because you never know how the tables can turn. I tell people all the time, never be too comfortable how good, I don't care how good you're sitting, never be too comfortable. Life can change in a blink of an eye. You can be on top today and you can end up on the bottom tomorrow. And life is constantly changing. Things can change in a matter of seconds. So you have to be careful being on your high horse. You have to be careful thinking you better than everybody, because the same people who you scrutinizing, you can end up in their shoes. You can end up wearing the same exact shoes. And when the man told her, when the director told her, we're gonna have to demote you, you could tell if she wanted to ball down, she wanted to ball up and cry right then, because she just didn't see that coming. She just been nasty for so long. She just never thought her turn was coming. Let me tell you something. Everybody gets a turn in the hot seat. If you are in a position right now and you got a high position, you a leader, you a manager, you supervisor, treat your employees with respect, because you never know what can happen. You know what I mean? These jobs are constantly changing. Your boss could decide to be funky one day and say, you know what? I appreciate the work you've been doing here, but I think it's best that, we allow somebody else to kind of just take over for a while. You never know. You just never know when one day you can go to your job and your boss could pull something funky and say, you know what, I decided, I'm gonna have to demote you, or I'm gonna have to get a different director to be over you. You just can never be too comfortable. Because these jobs, there's nothing certain on these jobs. There's nothing certain. I've seen good employees and I've seen nasty employees just lose their jobs. So you never could be too confident and never could be too full of yourself and think that nothing can ever happen, because it always can. For instance, that same boss, manager, or executive director that throws their weight around intentionally, trying to make everyone's life miserable, if you could open Pandora's box to their personal life, you'll be amazed to know their personal struggles. The nasty director is having issues in her marriage with her husband that has cheated on her with his secretary. Or that manager has a wife that is in process of divorcing him. That manager has a son or daughter on drugs. The list goes on. You will be surprised how that same bigoted, arrogant manager or director is on the urge of a nervous breakdown. But instead of dealing with those issues, they take it out on those who they feel are defeated. It's a lot of it. It's a lot. I'm telling you, it's a lot of miserable people in this world that are walking around here with a chip on their shoulder. If you meet somebody and they're just mean, nasty, hellish for no reason, it's a reason they're being that way. The reason they're being that way is because there's a lot of things that are wrong in their personal life. When you come across people like that, you can't even let them know that they're affecting you, because what it is, they want to take their frustrations out on someone else, and they want somebody else to be just as miserable as them. And the last thing you want to do is you want to give that person that. Misery needs company. You got miserable people, like I said, everywhere. If you're dealing with a certain individual on your job right now that's just mean, nasty, that's trying your patience, that is really pushing your buttons, do not fall into the trap, because at the end of the day, you don't have to live with them. Once you hit your time clock, you only got to deal with them for a couple of hours. Once you hit that time clock, that's it. You don't share somebody's misery. Never share another person's misery, because that's exactly what they want you to do. But that's basically the reason why I'm doing this video, for the simple fact that it's just too many people that are abusing their leadership ability. Now, this is the other reason I wanted to state. I stated before that you have people who abuse their leadership with ministry, these pastors, these deacons, these reverends, and you have people who abuse their leadership on these jobs, these directors, these managers, these supervisors. Now, the other leaders that are also abusing their leadership authority is those who are the leaders over their household. Okay. Samuel says, but yeah, that you are silly, Samuel. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people that are abusing their leadership over these households. Like, you have some of these men that are supposed to be leaders of the household, and they are abusing their leadership. They're abusing their leadership as husbands. They're abusing their leadership as fathers. Just because you are the man of the house, that does not give you the right to dictate your family. That does not mean it's okay for you to be abusive, violent, emotionally abusive. Just because you are the leader of your house, you still have to be careful with how you treat those who you are in authority over. Because a lot of times I understand that when it comes to being a man of the house, the majority of the pressure is on the men. Y'all have to deal with being the providers. Y'all have to deal with being the basically, y'all are the leaders. The majority of the weight is on the men. And what happens is sometimes that some men, they abuse their leadership with authority. And I'm not saying all men do it, but some men do. I know there's some men who feel like because they're the leaders of their household, they could basically um torture their children. They could abuse their wives, and they wonder why. One thing, you can't be blessed, and you can never, and they never could really have more than what they got, is because of the way they treat their families. And that's the same thing with you women, because some of you women, y'all abuse your authority too as single moms, especially when there's no man in the house, and you know that the father of your children, is in a separate house. That gives you an advantage to abuse your authority as the mother over the children. You feel like you can manipulate the kids. You feel like you can manipulate the man. You feel like you can pull all of these stunts because you are the leader. Basically, what I'm stating is, any type of leadership role that you have to be careful with how you use it. You have to be careful not to use your leadership to manipulate or to take advantage of people who are underneath you, because sooner or later it is going to come back to haunt you. It is going to come back on you when you least expect it. We just have to be very careful with your leadership abilities. But I know there's a couple of things definitely that I have to take care of, but I definitely want to do this message because I felt it was imperative that I shared with each and every one of you how important it is that we don't abuse our authority. You have to be careful as a leader in ministry, a leader over your household, a leader as far as on your job. Be careful with how you utilize your authority, because if you use it the wrong way, it's going to come back to haunt you. And before you know it, the same people you dogged, the same people you mistreated, you're going to end up right back in their shoes. So on that note, I hope tonight's message has at least been an eye opener for someone out there, to make them realize that we have to be careful with how we abuse authority. We have to be careful with how we abuse leadership. Once God has blessed you with a certain position, a certain title, you got to be careful with how you use it, because the same way you use it, you could always lose it. Never get too high yourself, never get too big on yourself. Don't get the big head. Don't let your ego get the best of you. Don't let your manipulation get the best of you. I mean, look at David and Goliath. I mean, giants can fall too. You know what I mean? So on that note, it's been pleasant. I thank each and every one of y'all for rocking out with me. Would have liked to go a little longer, but everybody's home now, and I know I'm not going to be able to basically finish my message in peace without any interruptions. But on that note, it's been real. It's been awesome. Don't forget to check out my Patreon account. I put a lot of my good uploads on there that you're not going to catch here. So when you get a chance, check out my Patreon. On that note, it has been wonderful. I thank all of you for supporting me, rocking out with me, having my back, being supportive. I appreciate each and every one of you. But on that note, I am going to have to shut it down. But it has been wonderful. It is your girl, Lady Mocha. And again, I'm going to always break you off with a slice of truth, and I'm going to always pour you a cup of knowledge. It's been real, y'all. I'll holler at y'all later. Bye.